What's up, everyone? My name's PlatinumHowler, coach of your Coquitlam Red Gyarados, and today I'm bringing you my IBL Season 6 Week 1 match versus Ogalbina and his Miami Mence. You can see his team over on the right side of the screen. His two Z users are Komo and Archeops. So we have a brand new team here that we're using for the very first time. A lot of mons that I have never used before and some old favorites as well. I gotta be honest, for this first week I feel like my team is pretty standard for the most part, although there are some kind of funky things to it. I do kind of feel like it's very standard and not as creative as I could have gone. I just kind of picked 6 mons and came up with sets for each and hope that's going to give us a win for the first week of this season. So we'll get right into things. We have Tentacruel. Tentacruel, one of my favorite mons. I'm probably going to end up bringing it a lot this season. One of the first things I noticed about Albina's team is that he does not have a poison type. So I decided, all right, I'm going to run Toxic Spikes and I'm going to wear his team down that way. And of course I have Rapid Spin to get rid of hazards on my side of the field. Scald is there for the likes of Mamoswine. I will outspeed Mamoswine for sure. I believe I put enough speed on this to outspeed Komo guaranteed. And I can also dent that Komo with a Dazzling Gleam. 4 times super effective. It won't be OHKOing it because Tentacruel without any attack investment is a very weak Pokemon. But still good at what it does. Next we have Zeraora, which is going to be outspeeding his entire team that's not Scarfed. Kind of interesting decision not to put Plasma Fists on here, but I figured the things that Plasma Fists, the things on his team that hit my other coverage moves also hit it super effectively. Like Plasma Fists would hit the likes of Ribombee, Greninja, but I have Fire Punch for Ribombee and I have Drain Punch for Greninja, so Drain Punch will give me HP back as well. So yeah, I figured I'd just rock with the coverage, and then my only Electric Stab is going to be Volt Switch for some general chip damage and Initiative against this team. And I gotta say, I'm pretty fond of the Zeraora nickname for this season. Just kind of I was, Lynx works really well for this, so unfortunately I don't have enough characters for it to be Link's Awakening, so I had to shorten it to Link's Awakened. But yeah, that game's coming to Switch later this year, right? Everyone remembers that? We'll see it. We'll probably have seen something about it at E3 from this past week. So, but who knows? E3 hasn't happened at the time that I'm recording this, so. Yeah, I'm excited for E3 for sure. But anyways, we have the Celesteela here. So we have some special attack investments with the Flamethrower, mainly for the Mega Scizor. This is what that thing is here to wall. We don't have any physical defense investment though, because I should be able to take physical hits from Scizor no problem anyway. He goes for a Swords Dance and then a Superpower. That could do around like 85% to me, but that's very situational. And hopefully, if Celesteela is able to hold on, then I can revenge kill him with the Flamethrower. And I also have Fire Move on my Zeraora for the Scizor, and Tentacruel is also a decent check to the Scizor as well. So for my then we have Leech Seed Protect just to kind of I don't want to say stall, but just get some general chip on his team. And it's always a good tactic when if I manage to keep Toxic Spikes on the field, just going for Leech Seed Protect to sit there or keep some of my health back as he gets wear down by Leech Seed and Poison and stuff like that. And then our last move is going to be Giga Drain. We can hit the Greninja super effectively, and we can also hit the Mamoswine super effectively. I was thinking about putting Flash Cannon on here as the last move, and that obviously would have hit the Mamoswine a lot harder. But I like having the Giga Drain to hit more things on his team, including the Greninja, and I'll be getting more HP recovery from Giga Drain as well. So next we're going to have this Bronzong, which is physically defensive, a pretty standard set with Stealth Rocks and Colbur. This is one of the better switch-ins in the game to Mamoswine, and really the only thing that Mamoswine can do to it is go for knockoff. So that's why we have the Colbur to reduce knockoff damage. We can set up rocks against the Mamoswine. We can toxic anything he might want to bring in. We have Gyro Ball for damage against things like the Mew, the Archeops, the Mamoswine, and Psychic is mainly there for the Como. That should be a 2-hit KO on that thing, and with all of our physical defense investment, hopefully we can take that thing on, prevent it from sweeping us. And the Toxic here is mainly for like the Mew, if he manages to remove like Toxic Poisoning. Preferably, I would like the Mew to be Toxic Poisoned rather than regular poison from Toxic Spikes. But if he comes in and gets regular poison, then I will not be complaining. Next up is going to be the Mega Gallade. I like the idea of bringing bulky Mega Gallade here. I have the same speed stat as my Tentacruel, so I'll be guaranteed outspeeding his Como-O. I could have gone to outspeed the Porygon Z, but I should be KOing that Porygon Z and recovering damage off with Drain Punch anyway. And I'll be honest, I don't think Porygon Z is coming to this game. Not that it's a bad Pokemon at all, but I think I have some decent answers for it, and he has a lot of other threats that he could bring instead. Zen Headbutt, Drain Punch. See, we're not guaranteed to outspeed the Mew, so we're very vulnerable to get hit by a Will-O-Wisp from this thing, and that would suck because I would not be doing very much damage to it at all. But we do have the Tentacruel, which is the same speed as this Gallade, so we can get a decent idea of so if his Mew outspeeds my Tentacruel, then I know that he'll outspeed my Gallade as well, so I will not want to leave Gallade in to take a burn. And if I need damage off against the Mew, I can go for X-Scissor against it. I feel like Colbur on his end is very obvious, so running knockoff is not going to be as effective as running X-Scissor would be. And X-Scissor can also hit his Serena super effectively if he wants to switch that into my Gallade. And then last but not least, we have this Wigglytuff, Standard Wish Protect. And this is all right. So there's a little bit of a story behind this. I brought a Mienshao in one of my other IBL League War tournament games that I played, and that unfortunately didn't get uploaded because my recording for it got corrupted somehow. So I led with a Fling Toxic Orb Mienshao against a Mega Sableye, and managed to Toxic Poison the Mega Sableye right off the bat. So we're bringing it back again with this Wigglytuff. So I'm most likely going to be leading with this, and I'll click Fling Toxic Orb. Hopefully if he leads with the Mew, then I will get the Toxic Poison on the Mew, and if he has a Colbur, because Fling is actually a Dark-type attacking move, I will also burn his Colbur, so that my Zeraora can hit it harder later in the game if necessary. And then Wish Protect just to support the team, keep everything healthy, because the only other form of recovery I have on this team, well, I have Leech Seed, Celesteela, and I also can get some HP back with Drain Punch Gallade. But yeah, so we're opting not to bring Hydreigon this time. I think he has a lot of things that he can bring in to revenge kill Hydreigon, so I didn't feel like it was the best spawn here, even though he does have a Mew. So we're gonna have a tough time, I think, handling the Mew because we didn't bring the Hydreigon. But I mean, he could have easily run like a max speed Mew with Dazzling Gleam just to beat my Hydreigon, which would have otherwise been my best counter to it. But instead, we're going to rock out with some other strats and see how we can do. So that's going to be the team. we're using against the Miami Mence this week, and I will see you right back with the battle. We are back with the battle, and looking at my opponent's team, it's looking like Toxic Spikes are going to be putting in a ton of work in this game. All 6 of his Pokemon are grounded and vulnerable to being poisoned by the Toxic Spikes, and his only potential hazard remover is the Mew, which may not necessarily be carrying Defog on its set. We're gonna have to scout that out. Potential hazard removers that he left on the bench are Rabombi, Mega Scizor, Serena, and Archeops. 2 of those 4 Mons would be unaffected by the Toxic Spikes, and could easily come in and defog them away if they needed to. And then the other Mon that he left on the bench was Jolteon, which I was kind of surprised to not see because I thought its speed tier and its coverage was pretty good against me. It was one of his better ways of breaking down my Celesteela. So he actually doesn't have any super effective stab whatsoever for Celesteela on this team. It's looking like the best way he has of hitting Celesteela is going to be his Porygon Z with very powerful Thunderbolts. Which is a mod that I probably should have prepped for a little bit more. I think I discounted it a little bit in prep. I thought he had better options to bring, but looking back, that was probably kind of foolish of me to assume. Anyways, the objective of this game is pretty simple. Get Toxic Spikes up and use those to wear his team down slowly but surely. We are going to lead off with our Wigglytuff, which is, of course, the Fling Toxic Orb set. One thing that I actually didn't mention in my team builder, a cool thing about having this is that it bypasses Taunt from a Mew, from like a Stallbreaker Mew set. If he were to lead Mew and go for a Taunt immediately, then I would still get the Fling off and get the Toxic Poison off against the Mew, which would be really helpful. But he's actually going to be leading with his Greninja, which is a great lead for us. He's going to be forced out immediately, as I was hoping that he would switch out there into the Mew, but he actually is going to bring in his Mamoswine. So the Mamoswine is going to be the one that gets Toxic Poisoned, and I'm assuming that since he brought this in, that rocks are going to go up right here. I can just throw up a free Wish and scout out what he wants to do. And as the rocks do go up on my side of the field, I'm going to go for a Wish, and I basically just get a free Dazzling Gleam here because any damage that he might want to do to me is going to be fully recovered by the Wish that I just set up. So he is going to stay in and go for the Earthquake, and it does just a little over half, so he is going to get some net damage off against me, but I will take that exchange very much. He only gets a net of 7 HP off against me and now he's down to about 25%. So I'm going to pull the switch into the Bronzong here. If he wants to go for an Earthquake again, then Bronzong will take that very well, and the Toxic will more than likely kill off the Mamoswine. But he actually makes a good play and switches into the Mew, preserving his Mamoswine for later. And I knew Taunt was a very, very strong possibility here, but I went for the Toxic anyway in case he didn't have Taunt. You know, Mew can do a variety of things. I'm not going to be staying in with this Bronzong because while I'm taunted, Mew can easily 1v1 me. And now he's going to be revealing this Super Fang, which is pretty darn annoying. That's going to take a huge chunk off of my Celesteela. The reason why I went into Celesteela here is I still wanted to be scouting for the Will-O-Wisp. I didn't want to be switching my Gallade in too aggressively without knowing more about his set. But we have seen Taunt and Super Fang. I can only assume that he has a recovery move and one other attacking move, because just having Super Fang as your only attacking move on any Pokemon is not really ideal, because that means that you can never actually pick up a kill. So I would assume that he has something like Dazzling Gleam, which hits Hydreigon, and as we are about to see, he does go for the Dazzling Gleam against my Mega Gallade. And because he is not all that offensive and I am very defensive, Mega Gallade, the Dazzling Gleam is not going to kill me, and X-Scissor gets off about 60% damage against the Mew. When I didn't see leftovers there, I assumed that it was going to be Cobra Berry, as I thought would be very likely to come in prep, so that's the main reason why I had X-Scissor over Knockoff. Unfortunately, that means that we're not going to be able to be hitting this Cofagrigus pretty hard, but we do go for Zen Headbutt, get a little bit of damage off him as we sack off our Mega Gallade. We did not need our Mega Gallade to win this game. We just needed it to break through the Mew, basically, get a little bit of damage off against that. And now I can bring Tentacruel in for free against this Cofagrigus, which is a good matchup for me, and I can set up my Toxic Spikes, as the Greninja is actually going to come in. I guess he didn't really have great switch-ins to Scald remaining on his team. He might have wanted to get Porygon Z in there, I guess, but Greninja is actually going to be his play, and he reveals the Extra Sensory. And even though he is Life Orb, we are still not 2-hit KO'd by Extra Sensory, which is really nice. And fortunately, we also avoid a flinch on that turn and get up our second layer of Toxic Spikes. And now I'm going to go for the Rapid Spin to get the rocks away from our side of the field. Chip damage on this Greninja is not something that I super value at this point, because I know that once my Tentacruel goes down here, I'm going to be bringing in my Zeraora, which outspeeds this Greninja and will always be able to knock it out with well, I would think Drain Punch would knock it out. I don't actually have Plasma Fist on my Zeraora, but he makes actually a very good play and goes for Spikes after I spin away the rocks, which I probably should have expected that he would have had Spikes on this set, considering he led with this Greninja. So as he takes my Tentacruel out, this one layer of Spike is going to stay on my side of the field for the rest of the game. And one thing that I didn't consider is by going for Dazzling Gleam there, I actually knock him down low enough to where he gets the Torrent boost on the Water Shuriken, and he gets 4 hits off with it and does quite a good chunk to my Zeraora. So I really regret going for the Dazzling Gleam there. I wish I would have just kept spamming Rapid Spin in case he wanted to set Spikes, so that way I didn't knock him into Torrent range. I would have made him kill me with and made him stay at a higher amount of health. And then I also would have regained more HP from the Drain Punch on Zeraora that turn. So I did not anticipate Zeraora getting that low on HP right there, and I'm kind of worried now, honestly, because Zeraora is my main way of kind of cleaning up this game. I'm kind of vulnerable to a Mamoswine Ice Shard now at that range, but the Komodo comes in, and I'm going hard out into my Wigglytuff rather than Volt Switching, because I don't want to take that extra Life Orb damage on Zeraora. The Volt Switch damage against this Komodo is not going to really help me. And the Wigglytuff is going to come in as he goes for the Dragon Dance, and I see that he has the Phytanium Z, but I considered going for Protect there, obviously, to kind of burn through the Phytanium Z, but I was never going to let him get a second Dragon Dance up if he predicted me to go for Protect right there. So unfortunately my Wigglytuff goes down, but I do have one other thing that can take a hit from this Kommo-o. Thankfully my Bronzong is max defense, and he's going to go for Close Combat, and his Special Defense falls, and that is going to allow us to put him in range to die to that Psychic right there. Even without the Special Defense drop, I think it would have done enough damage to the point where Toxic on the next turn would have killed him off, or it would have killed him off eventually, because I still had a Celesteela in the back that could protect and stall out more turns of Toxic. But anyway, now it's the Porygon Z's turn to come in, and he's going to kill me off with a Life Orb Shadow Ball, and I'm down to 2 Mons now. I only have my Zeraora and my Celesteela, but I need more HP on my Zeraora to take a hit to take an Ice Shard from the Mamoswine. So this is somewhat of a 50-50 here. Does he predict me to bait him to go for Thunderbolt and as I switch into my Zeraora, or do I stay in and get the Leech Seed off, or try to stall out some Toxic turns with Protect and whatnot? So he actually is going to go for the Agility, which I think was a good play on his part. It covered me switching into Zeraora. So if I had done that, then he would have outsped me on the next turn, and he could have just killed me off with a Tri-Attack or something. But the fact that I get the Leech Seed off, and he is going to be taking a lot more poison damage, and my Celesteela is back up near maximum health now. So that 50-50 is pretty much going to cost him the game at this point, especially after this play, as even if he predicted me to go out into Zeraora on this turn, I could still bring Celesteela back in, click Protect to stall out the final turn of Toxic. Now, he would have, assuming he was making the best play possible, he would have switched out Porygon Z on that turn and preserved it to come in later and just get Thunderbolt damage off against me. But anyways, we do make the correct play of going into Zeraora, and we get a lot of HP back, both from the Volt Absorb and the Leech Seed, as Cofagrigus now comes in, and we Volt Switch out on him and get a crit, which I'm not sure how much that mattered. I don't think it mattered. I honestly don't think it mattered a ton. But thankfully here he actually decides to go for the Shadow Ball rather than the Pain Split, which was probably his better play because he couldn't assume that I was going to Volt Switch out on him that turn. If I had stayed in with Zeraora, Pain Split wouldn't have been a great play for him. Here, I actually go for the Protect to let the Toxic kill off this Cofagrigus rather than just killing him with a Flamethrower or a Giga Drain, which was kind of a silly play on my part because I basically forfeited a Special Defense Beast Boost on my Celesteela right there, which could have definitely been problematic if he still had that Porygon Z in the back. I would have really appreciated that extra Special Defense boost to potentially live a Thunderbolt from that thing, but because that thing's gone, and I didn't really need that Special Defense boost to take on anything that he has left anyway. All he has is this Mew, which I have seen his entire set. The only way that he can hurt me with is Super Fang, and then of course Mamoswine is going to be attacking me on the physical side, so Special Defense Beast Boost wouldn't have helped me there very much whatsoever. But yeah, this Mew can prevent me from going for Toxic and Leech Seed and stuff, but he can't ever knock me out. He can try to weaken me for Mamoswine to knock me out with an Icicle Crash or something. If he got a flinch with Icicle Crash, then he could have maybe worn down my Celesteela that way. But as it turns out, his Mamoswine didn't even have Icicle Crash. So he had nothing left at this point to break through my Celesteela. It's only a matter of time before Celesteela cleans up this game. I go for the Leech Seed here because the last time Mew was in against my Celesteela, he didn't even try to click Taunt, so we're just clicking buttons until Mew goes down at this point because eventually the Toxic is going to be too much for him to overcome. Again, he can't really hurt me outside of Super Fang. Dazzling Gleam is not going to be doing anything to me, especially since I did get the kill on Mamoswine, giving me a +1 in special defense. I'd be surprised if that did any more than 5% to my Celesteela at this point, but eventually Toxic is going to take him out, and we are going to take the 2-0 victory over the Miami Mence in Week 1. As for the second season in a row, we get off to a positive start in the IBL. GG to Ogalbina. Make sure you go check out his side of the battle. His links will be in the description, as always. I think this battle showcased two things about my team this season pretty well. One is that this team has incredible stall potential, and you really have to be mindful of that in prep. Tentacruel picking up 4 passive kills thanks to setting the Toxic Spikes. Mew, Cofagrigus, Kommo-o, and Porygon Z all dying to Toxic damage. I kind of pad Tentacruel's stats there by not going for the attack with Celesteela against it. When I had no reason to click Protect, I could have easily just picked it off with a Flamethrower or a Giga Drain. Celesteela would have had 2 kills, and Tentacruel only would have had 3, but still, even that would have been impressive. I think I would rather pad Tentacruel's stats, though, to be honest. I think Celesteela is going to have its time to shine later on in the season for sure. A combination of Toxic Spikes, Wish protecting with Wigglytuff, Leech Seed protecting with Celesteela. Oh boy, the residual damage is real, and it's very, very annoying to deal with. And the second thing being Celesteela and Zeraora pair with each other so amazingly well. The mind games of I won this game. I won this game on mind games. If he had made the correct play with Porygon Z there and like knew what I was going to do. Now I'm not saying what his the play that he made was the incorrect play. He just guessed wrong. I could have easily switched into Zeraora there, trying to bait him to go for Thunderbolt, and that wouldn't have been a bad play on. I don't think it would have been a bad play on my part. But his play was not, his decision to go for the agility there was also not a bad play. I think he would have thought that he was that was a pretty safe play for him to make. It was kind of the middle ground play. But the fact that I was able to get the Leech Seed off and wear him down with all of that residual damage just put me in a really strong position. I'm happy to get the win, although it may not have been a very convincing win. You could argue that I was pretty fortunate to win by basically winning off of a 50-50. I think the biggest misplay of the game, the biggest oversight on my part, was not thinking about Torrent on Greninja, because I didn't need to knock him down into Torrent range at that point. And that extra damage on Zeraora, I think, really cost me. It forced me to play it a lot differently than I would have liked, because I knew at that point that I was vulnerable to a Mamoswine's Ice Shard, which otherwise Zeraora could have outsped everything else on his team and basically cleaned up. But I had to play more conservatively. And that basically allowed Porygon Z the opportunity to come in against Celesteela, and if he had got that play right, I don't think I win, because once it gets the agility up, then it kind of just it obviously kills Zeraora at the range of HP it was at. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel for future IBL uploads. Next week, week 2, we are going to be taking on Gravy and his Los Angeles Valientes, so make sure you tune in for that one. And later this week, we are also going to have semi-finals of the PCL D-League against Mop of Justice and his Portland Crawdons. That's going to be going up on Friday, so make sure you tune in for that one as well. We will see you later.